William Blake was a visionary English poet who lived in London from 1757 until his death in 1827. He is best known for his book of poems, The Songs of Innocence and Experience, The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, an early work that combines poetry and prose, has also drawn many readers. But fewer know the poetry of Jerusalem, his later prophetic work that some readers have described as being like a kaleidoscope of words and pictures. In Jerusalem, Blake invites his readers to throw open their doors of perception and interact with a vast glimmering web of contradictory ideas and images, to see and experience the world in new ways and then to reimagine it in ways that enable us, to his readers, to escape oppressive conventional systems of thought and belief and to formulate our own philosophies and live our own lives. Blake was an outlier, a nonconformist, a rebel, something that is made clear in The Marriage of Heaven and Hell and in Jerusalem. His starting point was not in the lofty abstractions of his day, but in the human form. He believed in the sanctity and sensuality of the human body and in the power of the imagination to liberate the human body and soul, which he believed were one and the same. Blake thought big. His lifelong models were the biblical prophets Dante, Shakespeare, and Milton. The eclectic philosophy that informed his writing was original and revolutionary. An early ardent supporter of the American and French revolutions, his influence on later thinkers and poets has been deep and long-lasting. An innovative engraver and painter as well as a writer, the irascible Blake was arguably a seer, a prophet. His poems, engravings, and paintings, which were intended to inspire and ultimately to change, to heal his readers, harken back to the shamanistic origins of myth-making, storytelling, and poetry. But enough by way of introduction. By some lucky twist of fate, we have William Blake right here with us today. So let's hear him speak about his life and work in his own words. Before we start, Mr. Blake, I'd like to dispel a rumor. I don't want to offend, but your contemporary, the critic Robert Hunt, accused you of being, and I quote, an unfortunate lunatic. How would you answer him?
To that hack and scoundrel, I say, madman, I have been called. Fool, they call thee. I wonder which they envy, thee or me.
And the popular view is that you're a mystic. Is this true?
I can look at a knot in a piece of wood till I am frightened at it, and grains of ocean sand, jewels of light, once appeared to me as one man. I live in the eternal now, for eternity is in love with the productions of time. Thus, my business is to create. Let's leave it at that.
Well, most of our viewers are probably familiar with poems such as The Lamb, The Tiger, and London from your Songs of Experience and Innocence sequence. These have an immediate and lasting impact. What was your purpose in creating these songs?
It should be obvious from my subtitle, showing the two contrary states of the human soul. They are stations of instruction on our way from innocence to its contrary, experience, a journey we all take in life. And I know you want to ask me, what is the price of experience?
Yes, I've never forgotten your moving answer. Do men buy it for a song or wisdom for a dance in the street?
No, it is bought with the price of all that a man hath. His house, his wife, his children. Wisdom is sold in the desolate market where none come to buy. And in the withered fields where the farmer plows for bread in day.
And what do you mean by contrary states?
Let me repeat what I've said in the marriage of heaven and hell, that without contraries is no progression. That's the key. Attraction and repulsion, reason and energy, love and hate are necessary to human existence. Contraries are not either or, but both and. They are separate, but essential to each other in their dynamic interaction. Splitting the contraries apart, negating them, is why all Bibles or sacred codes have been the causes of the error that man has two real existing principles, namely the body and the soul. In fact, man has no body distinct from his soul. These codes also spread the error that energy called evil is alone from the body, and that reason called good is alone from the soul. But energy and reason are contraries. And energy is the only life which is from the body, and reason is the bound or outward circumference of energy. Thus, energy is eternal delight.
Now, though I risk being the idiot questioner whom you've mocked in your writings, I have a question that I've wanted to ask since I was in college and discovered that your poem, The Tiger, was illustrated. Giving its opening lines, tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night. Why does the picture accompanying the poem show a tiger that looks more like a tabby than the one that you describe in the poem as having, quote, fearful symmetry?
Yes, there's a certain innocence about that tiger. Whether it threatens or comforts you is a matter of your imagination. In the eye, such the object. Think about it. My words and pictures spark an arc between them. So I've managed to light thought-creating fires in you. To quote from another of my poems, to learn, you must actively create meaning and not passively receive a message.
Well, could you comment on London from your songs of experience with its famous image of the mind-forged manacles?
First, allow me to quote the first stanza. I wander through each chartered street, near where the chartered Thames does flow. I mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe. This is my London in 1794. Recall my words about what all Bibles or sacred codes have done, and mind-forged manacles should be evident. Clearly, the poem teaches us about the agony of mental, which becomes social bondage, where everything is chartered. London streets and even the River Thames under government control.
Your songs of innocence seem to be sung in the country. Did you intend a contrast here between country and city?
Remember the chimney sweeper, the sweep's heart-rending song about being sold in the city when he was young, crying as his curly hair was shaved for easier movement through tight chimneys, and then trying to convince himself that if all do their duty, they need not fear harm. This was a little boy's view of the world in the songs of innocence. Now we see the adult's view of the world, London, in the songs of experience.
Well, these songs are a magnificent achievement, and readers around the world, including me, have been in love with them for years. But frankly, many readers find your later work difficult, such as Jerusalem, which you finished in 1820, some liking it to a building. Just as we see our way to the center, its architecture of words and picture morphs around us. Can you give us a hint?
I give you the end of a golden string. Only wind it into a ball. It will lead you in at heaven's gate, built in Jerusalem's wall.
A golden string?
Yes, there are many strands of this string that would lead you not into a building, but a new body. Follow my concatenation of fibers to iron threads, from fibrous veins to fibers of thine eyes. I weave these into the whole fabric of divine analogy, so that by entering my poem, you might escape enslaving systems of thought and belief.
And what do you mean by Heaven's Gate?
Mutual forgiveness of each vice, such are the gates of paradise. This book, with its pictures, explores individual and social liberty, which is paradise. And so, by the way, is a woman's gate. That's why in my poem, the primary fact is past, present, and future existing all at once. And why you have to give up epic plot and attend, as in the book of Revelation, to images and extended analogies, verbal and visual. Think of a kaleidoscope.
Then how are we meant to read the poem?
If the spectator could enter into these images in his imagination, approaching them on the fiery chariot of his contemplative thought, and make a friend and companion of one of these images of wonder, which always entreats him to leave mortal things, then would he arise from his grave and be happy. That is, you'll discover your full powers of a resurrected imagination and the unity of what has been divided in the teachings of your institutions, such as soul and body.
I know you don't relegate mortal things, all of which you call human forms, even tree, metal, earth, and stone, to a purely mental world. Yet you have said that our world is a world of imagination and vision.
No, pay attention. Human forms. The human body is imagination and is at the heart of my writing and painting. It's about perception, opening the 5 windows of the body. How do you know but every airy bird that cuts the airy way is an immense world of delight closed by your senses 5. Thus, you must open your senses. For the body of renewed senses is a resurrected body. By my art, it is the senses that I call upon. If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. For man has closed himself up till he sees all things through narrow chinks of his cavern. Read and view the marriage of heaven and hell. It's all there.
Cruelty has a human heart, and jealousy a human face. Terror